Hi everyone, it's Eden from Lemonerdy. Welcome back to another coding tutorial. I know it's been a while, but I am super excited to be back and coding with you all. Today we're going to be making a Santa's Workshop holiday gift wrapping game. So I hope you all are having a wonderful holiday and that you are ready to sit down, grab your laptops, and code along with me. This is going to be a real-time live coding tutorial, so whether you're watching it now live or watching it later, you won't have to pause or anything. You'll be coding right along with me in real time. So let's get started. So over here is the finished game, and first you can click on the how to play, and basically how you play it is you have to be on a computer and you use the up, down, left, and right arrows in that order, and then the B key to wrap your presents. So you have to click those in that order, and then press the B to add the bow, and the presents are actually falling from the top of the screen. So this is kind of similar to the apple catching game, if you've ever seen that. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll put a link in the description to where you can see that, and you can see how to make a game where something's falling and you have to catch it. But this is a little bit different because you have to wrap these presents as they fall before they get into the bin. So let me show you what that looks like. So when you press play, you click on the present to select it, and then you have to click on the up, down, left, and right arrows to close each flap and wrap it, and B to put the bow on it. Whether you put a little B on the present is up to you. I did that for the example gift, and I thought that was just like a really easy little reminder in case someone forgets, because I have the arrows on either side of it. So if you want to put the B there and you find that your users they see that it's easier that way, then that's fine, that's perfect, that is great, whatever you would like to do. But it really doesn't matter. So as you continue on with the game, the longer you play, the harder it gets. So that basically just means that it generates clones faster, and there's more presents that you have to wrap at once. So right now there's only like maybe one screen at the same time, but the longer you go, the more it starts to overlap. There's less time between and it starts to get harder. And that's because of a difficulty variable. So now that you all know a little bit of how the game works, let me show you how to code it. So I'm in my Lemonerdy account right now. I made this in my CodyCat account. So you can see the finished product there. I'll put a link in the description for that. But as you can see, once I stop playing, I'm starting to strike out. And once I have 3 X's, it's game over. So I go to my CodyCat account, and there is a template that is shared down here. You can see that. So click on the template, and this template basically has all of the graphics, so you don't have to do any drawing, any searching the internet for the buttons or the pictures or anything like that, and just click on Remix. So this will give you all of the sprites that I used minus the code so that you can start coding along with me. So the first thing that we're going to do is set up our screens to make sure our play and how to play buttons work. So let's start inside of the backdrop. So the one script that's already here is just setting the ghost effect to 0 and switching the backdrop to home. So that's making sure it has no transparency and that the backdrop is this home screen. And then it's going to play some music, but we're going to we'll keep that there. So now that we know that it's always going to be at the home backdrop in the beginning, let's make sure that our buttons are hiding and showing at the right times. So we'll do when backdrop switches to home, show, and then we're just going to drag that over to the how to play button as well, because we want it to always show when it's on the home screen. And sometimes you can use the when flag is clicked button, but since we have this how to play button that's going to go in between another backdrop, we want to make sure that whenever it goes to the home screen, these things are showing. And also, let's right click and duplicate this, and then when the backdrop switches to play, we want it to hide. And when it switches to home 2, which is actually, here, let me show you what the backdrops look like. So home 2, that's game over. Okay, so this is a tutorial, and actually home 2 doesn't matter. And this is the play screen, so this is what it looks like when the presents are dropping. So let's go back to our play sprite. So when the backdrop switches to tutorial, we want it to hide. So in the tutorial or the playing screen, we want it to hide. And let's duplicate this over to the how to play and the back button. Now for the back button, we want it for when it switches to, we're just going to duplicate one of these over to the back button. For the back button, when the backdrop switches to home, we want that to actually hide. When it switches to play, we want it to hide. And then when it switches to tutorial, we want it to show because they have to be able to get back from the tutorial. And for how to play, when it's at home, it should show. And when it's at play, it should hide. So let's make sure that that works. So we go to how to play. So this actually isn't clickable yet. So let's make sure that when this sprite is clicked, we have it switch to backdrop to tutorial. And then for the play button, we want it to, when this is clicked, it will switch the backdrop to play. And then each of these should actually be broadcasting a message for the other sprites to know that it's time to play the game or it's time to show the tutorial. So we'll have it broadcast a new message called play. And then going back to the back button, or actually going back to the how to play button, excuse me. Going back to the how to play button, we'll have it broadcast start tutorial. So let's click on start button. And if you go to how to play, it switches it to Santa's Workshop. And we want this how to play button to actually hide when it switches to the tutorial as well. Then for the back button, let's make this clickable. And when this sprite is clicked, we want it to switch this backdrop to the home. Let's see if that works. How to play, back, and play goes to this screen. So for the how to play, we already have the tutorial written. Now there is one example gift called gift 5, but you can rename that if you'd like. So this gift, it shows basically how everything works. It cycles through all of these costumes, showing the process of how a present is wrapped. So this is a really easy script to do on, we're gonna show this right because it's hidden right now. And then we're going to do when I receive start tutorial. First, we're going to set the ghost effect to let's do 20 because they start off a little bit transparent. Then we will have it wait 0.5 seconds. Then we will have it switch to the costume needs top flap. So I have the costumes named by what is the next step that it needs to do, because it's just easier for me to organize it that way. But you all can name them or rename them, whatever you'd like. Also make sure that at the beginning of the tutorial it switches its costume to needs top flap, and then it's going to switch its costume to needs bottom flap. And then you're just going to duplicate these and make sure that you have each costume selected. So the next one is going to be needs left flap, needs right flap. Gonna duplicate these. Oops. Let's duplicate these one more time. Left, right. Needs bow, and then done. So if we click on, oh, and then one more thing, we actually need to make the ghost effect undo itself. So let's duplicate this. We just need one more weight. I'll put that there, and then we'll add clear graphic effects. So if we click on this, it's going to basically cycle through everything that you need to do to wrap a present. And while it's doing that, we want it to repeat this for as long as they're on this screen. So go to Control and get a repeat until loop, and then put this around this entire thing. And then we want it to repeat doing this for until a condition is true, and that condition is if the back button is clicked or it goes back to the play screen. So go to looks and then scroll all the way down to the bottom and get backdrop name, and then it will repeat until backdrop name equals home. So if we click on this, it's going to start doing its little loop, and then when we press back, it should stop. Yep, it looks like it stopped. So, but we want it to actually hide as well. So let's add when backdrop switches to home, looks, and then hide. And also at the beginning, actually when backdrop switches to tutorial, we would like it to show. All right, let's see how that looks. So let's go to how to play. We see our little animation is playing, and then we press back. It stops. Perfect. So now we can get into the real nitty gritty of this coding. We want those gifts to start falling. We want to start wrapping them. So let's get into it. We've gotten through the boring stuff, and we are ready to get into the fun stuff. So I have one more boring thing for you. We need to make some variables. So the variable, forget I said that, because the variables actually transfer over when you remix the project, because I never deleted them. But let me just explain to you what variables we have here. So if I show these in the project panel, you can see that I have quite a few variables. I have the score, which will obviously show you how many points that you have. There's the selected gift, which could be really any number. It actually doesn't matter what number it is. There's a clone ID, which is actually specific to each gift. So if you go between the different gifts, each gift has a different variable for the clone ID, which I'll explain more about later. There's the difficulty, and there's a clone count for each gift. So each gift is basically just a different color. The costumes have like different colors, different bows, whatever, but they are pretty much all the same. It's just so that they can have a little bit of variety. We have my variable that doesn't really matter. Strikes, that is relevant to this one so that we know how many times they've dropped a gift without it being wrapped. And then, yeah, I think that's everything. So let's start by, we're going to hide like all of these because we'll keep score and gifts because those are the ones that need to be seen by the players so they can see how many points they have and how many gifts they've wrapped. I think my max was like 200 something, so let me know down in the comments if you guys could beat that. And no, I didn't cheat while I was coding. I just got really into the game, so let me know if y'all could beat like 230 or something. Anyway, so if we go onto the play screen, let's go ahead and show this gift so we can see what we're doing. And the first thing we're going to do is make this gift able to fall. Now, we're going to use clones for this, and if you watch my apple catching video, you know a little bit about how to use clones, but we're using them slightly differently in this one. So let's go to events, and then go to when I start as a clone. So whenever a new clone is created, it's going to follow the script that starts with when I start as a clone. And you can have as many of these as you'd like so that you could have multiple scripts starting simultaneously or anything like that. So when I start as a clone, we want it to go to the top. And we actually have another sprite here that is this like presents shoot, because it wouldn't make sense if the presents were just randomly falling out of the air. They're coming out of a chute, then they're coming into this bin that is labeled presents, because obviously presents are supposed to go there. So to make sure that they're not coming out like too high or outside of the chute or anything like that, we want to make sure that at the beginning, go to motion, and then we're going to set the Y to negative 100, or no, not negative 130. Let's do 160. See how that looks. That's a little too high. Let's do 130. Okay, so that's a realistic number. We want to set the Y to 130 because they have to fall from the top. Now they can fall from anywhere on the x-axis. So horizontally, they could show up anywhere. So that means we need to use a randomizer. So get the set x to block and then go to operators and then see where it says pick random 1 to 10. We can change this actually, and we want to make it a random negative 160 to 160. And if we click on the script, then you can see that it's going to random positions on the x-axis, but it's always starting at the top, which is good. Now we have to make this fall, but it can only fall until it gets about like halfway inside the presents bin, and then it's going to disappear and it'll judge whether it was wrapped or not, and then it'll, add the points, whatever. So if you look down here, we'll say this is about negative 130. So go to control and get repeat until, and then we're going to have it repeat falling until get an equals block. Then go to motion, scroll all the way down, and Y position equals negative 130. So repeat whatever's in here until the Y position equals negative 130. So until it gets to negative 130, we want it to change the Y position by negative 10. Let's see what that looks like. That's going pretty fast. Let's try negative 5. That's also still going really fast. You know what we can do? We can set it to negative 10, and then we can add a little wait block. So that will make sure that it's not going too fast. Let's do 0.1 seconds. And that looks like it's falling just about fast enough. And if you wanted to be a little bit slower, you could do negative 0.2. It just really depends on how hard you want your game to be. If you like your games super difficult, then, that's up to you. So now we need it to, it's stopping at the right place. So now we need it to disappear. So we're going to put a hide block and then an if else to check if they have wrapped the present by the time it gets to the bottom. So go to if else, then get an equal sign. And let's go to our costumes. And if you can see that, it says that our done costume is when the present is fully wrapped. So let's go back into our code and let's go to looks, scroll all the way down and go to costume number, and then we'll switch that to name, or you could use the number, it doesn't really matter. But if costume name equals done, then that means that they've fully wrapped the present. And we're going to add a little sound effect. We'll do start sound collect. And if not, in the else section, then it'll start the sound pew, which is like it's like a negative sound. That means oops, strike out, whatever. So we have the sound effects. Now let's make it affect their score. So let's go to variables and we'll have it change the score by 50 points. And that's if they do it right. And if they don't, then we'll change it by negative 25. So it won't take away all of their points. Then there's also a gifts count to see how many presents that you've wrapped. And we'll have it change that by 1. Now, we also needed to cast a message to make the strikes go up. So go to events and then broadcast message underneath the L section, and then a new message called strike. And we will add the rest of the strikes later. But so we have this clone script. Now we have to make sure that we can actually wrap the present. But before we do that, let's set up our clone ID system. So if you all don't know about the clone ID system, basically, if you have a variable that is set to only for a specific sprite. So let me just show you an example. If you click on make a variable, there's a little section that says for this sprite only. And this makes it so that when you create a clone, clones basically have access to all of the code inside, and they're going to follow every instruction you give them. But if a variable is for that sprite only, that means that each clone has their own individual copy of a variable that can have a bunch of different definitions. So our clone ID variable is for this sprite only, but it's already been created, so you don't have to worry about making sure that box is checked. But our clone ID variable, it says gift1 : clone ID. That's how we know that it's made only for this gift. So the clone ID will basically help us know which gift is being selected, because there are multiple gifts on the screen at the same time. So you have to know which one you're clicking the up and down arrows trying to wrap, because we don't want them all to wrap at the same time. That would be a huge glitch and not very fun. So basically, to set up your clone ID, you have to use, there's a gift1 clone count. So that's how we know how many clones have been made. It doesn't really matter the exact number, but each clone can't really tell, it doesn't know what the previous clone number ID is. So we need to keep track so that each clone has a different ID number. So when something starts as a clone, we will have it set their clone ID to the gift1 clone count. And let's go to when start clicked, and then we're going to set our gift1 clone count to 0. And then when I start as a new clone, so when a new clone is created, then we will change the gift1 clone count by 1, and then this clone's ID is going to be set to that new number. So now let's just look at our costumes real quick. And well, this 0 costume isn't really relevant, but as we go through, you click on the top. So let's say you're on this costume. You click on the top flap, then it switches to the next costume. Now the top flap is down. You click on the down arrow, and now the bottom flap goes up. It's up in the costume. Then left, right, and they progressively close. Like I said before, you don't have to have this be in here, but sometimes it's helpful as like an extra instruction in case people forget. But basically, we need to make sure that people have to click them in order, which makes the game a little more fun, more difficult, and also easier for you to code. So let's start with just the top flap, because that's the first thing that you need to do. And for the top flap, go to events, and then when space key clicked, but we're going to do when up arrow is clicked. And also let's make sure that it's whenever a new clone is created, it goes to the first costume. So needs top flap, we'll switch that to here. And then we're going to make it a little bit transparent. So we'll set the ghost effect to 20 and then put that up there. Actually, okay, no, let's save that for later. Anyway, so when the up arrow is pressed, we need one if. First we have to see if this clone is the one that is actually being selected. So let's go to variables, and then we will get selected gift, and then an equal sign if selected gift equals, and then go back to variables and get clone ID. Then if the current costume, we'll get another equals, then go back to looks and get the costume number, which would be 2. So it needs the top flap. The costume number is 2. Then it will switch to the next costume, which needs bottom flap. So we have this is done, but we need to make sure that when you click on this, then it's going to switch the selected gift to the clone ID. That's a super simple script. Go to events, do when this right is clicked, variables, and then set the selected gift to clone ID. And clone ID, that basically just means that whichever clone you are right now, when that clone is clicked, it's basically just saying then that's the selected gift, so that we know that you're going to be controlling the right one. So when this gift is clicked, the clone ID will be set to the selected gift. And now we're just going to right click, duplicate this, and then change it to the down arrow. Selected gift equals clone ID. Then we'll change this to the third costume, and then change that to needs left flap. Then duplicate and change that to 4. Needs right flap. Duplicate. Let's change that to the right arrow. Is that the right one? Okay, up, down. We did, no, it's supposed to do left first. Left first, so then it's changing to the right arrow, and then we'll change this to 5, and then needs a bow, and then one more, duplicate, and use the B key, because that's what adds the bow. Then that will be done, and the costume number should be 6. So these are our 4 little commands, and let's just see if this works. So we click on it, up, down, left, right. The right one's not working. Let's see what's wrong with that one. See, we forgot to change this. So this should be the right arrow. Let's try that again. Click on this script to test it out. Let me show it. Up, down, left, right. Okay, here's the problem. It's not showing because we forgot to add a little show button at the top. So one more overview of this when I start as a clone script, just to make sure we have everything right. Show, switch costume to needs top flap, change the gift one clone count by 1, set clone ID to gift one clone count. Then we have all of this, which you know that works. Okay, so let's try the script again. Up, we click on it, then up, down, left, right, B. So to make sure that we know that it's being clicked on, we're going to change the transparency up a little bit. So we're going to add another script for when we start as a clone, and this is going to be a forever loop. So go to events, and when I start as a clone, go ahead and get out a forever loop. But before this forever loop, go to looks and actually no, not before the forever loop, but go to looks and then do set color effect to, change that to ghost effect, and we'll put that as 20. Then we need an if else, and this if else will basically just be checking if this clone is the one that is being selected. And go to operators, equals, then variables, and if selected gift equals clone ID, and if that looks familiar, that's what's right underneath the when this sprite is clicked. So it's literally the exact same thing. When this sprite is clicked, if this sprite is the one that was just clicked just now, then that is the one that is going to change its ghost effect. So if it hasn't been clicked, then this is going to go on the else one, and if it has been clicked, it's going to go back up to its full brightness. So then we're just going to put a clear graphic effects here. So let's try that out. It's going to be a little bit transparent. We click on it. Oh, not yet. Oh, let me see. Here, let's duplicate this, put this for the forever loop as well, because we wanted to start off as being a little bit transparent. We click on it, up, down, left, right, B. Why is it not working? Okay, we start as a clone. Let me just show this to show what it looks like. The ghost effect at 20 looks like that. This is live debugging, y'all. Trying to figure out what's wrong. Ah, that's it. So under the when start clicked, let's also add a set selected gift to 0 so that there's not already one, because right now it is setting it to 20, but it's skipping over it really fast, and the selected gift is already the clone ID because we're only working with this one gift right now as a test. So now it's transparent. If you click on it, then you can tell that it's selected, and then everything works. Then it gets to the bottom and it disappears. Now let's work on this chute and basket real quick, because this is a little bit of a mess. So when the backdrop switches to home, we want this to hide, and we want it to go to the front layer. It won't matter because you can't see it, but we do want it to be at the front. And then when the backdrop switches to play, we would like it to show. And it should be in the front. And let's go back to gift 1. Let's try this again to make sure that everything is working. We'll create a new clone. Click on it, up, down, left, right, B. And we go up, down, left, right, B. It is not making. I don't know what. Let me try this again. Let me show this. So if you're ever having a problem debugging, I suggest showing the variables that are in question so that you know what's going on, what the computer is thinking, or what you accidentally told it to do. So if we show the selected gift variable, it's starting at a 0. It's starting at 0, and then we click on this. Selected gift equals clone ID, then clear graphic effects. But the selected gift is 0. Why is it? Okay, but now it's working. Let's try this one more time. We're gonna do this organically and have it just start and then create a clone of myself. Okay, now it's working. Maybe it's just because we're testing it in weird scenarios. But okay, so now that's working. We have one gift that completely works, and now we just have to copy and paste this code into the rest of these gifts, and we're just gonna have to change a few things. Luckily, we don't have to change this clone ID, but we are going to have to change the clone counts. So let's hide some of these variables. We don't need that one, don't need that one. So we're going to drag and drop each of these into this red gift. Each of these scripts should make their way over there, including the one with the forever loop and the when the sprite is clicked, when the start is clicked, and especially when I start as a clone. We're also going to put these in the blue one. And this can be very tedious, you guys. But it makes your game so much more exciting because you have different colored gifts. And who doesn't want different colored gifts, y'all? I don't know if I put that one in there already, but I guess we're going to find out, aren't we? And when they end up all on top of each other like this, a cool hack you can do is you can right click and then press clean up blocks, and it just organizes them for you. Okay, last one, y'all. I'm just going to drag and drop this from here since they're already all lined up and I don't have to sort through them. Also, comment down below what you all are doing for your winter break. I would love to know what is keeping you busy, and if you don't have comments because you're on YouTube Kids, feel free to comment on my Scratch profile. I love to see you all's messages and I love to hear from you. So I'd really love to know what y'all are up to, what y'all are getting into, and what y'all are enjoying this holiday break. Okay, so now we have all of these scripts in our different gifts. They are organized, and now we have to make it so that we aren't just making the gifts appear in our testing. We need to make them appear themselves. So go into the backdrop, which is where I like to put the most objective and mastermind type coding, the code that is really orchestrating the whole thing. That kind of code goes in the backdrop, because the backdrop, it's like, it's not an actual sprite, but it's really controlling everything that's happening technically. So underneath the backdrop, we are going to put when start clicked. And when the start is clicked, we will, I don't know if we did this already, but it doesn't hurt to do it again, set the score to 0. We will set the gifts count to 0. And then we will go to events, and when I receive play, which is a message that is broadcast by the play button, when I receive play, then we are going to put a forever loop, go to variables, and set difficulty to, let's say, like 6. And then we need a wait block and a create clone block. Now we wanted to randomize creating different clones between these 4 gifts, and notice how they're all named in like gift 1, gift 2, gift 3 with no spaces. And this is intentional because to make it randomized, remember that random number generator that we have? We can have it generate a random number from 1 to 4 actually. And then once it generates that random number from 1 to 4, we can have it tack that on to the end of the word gift, and then it will actually pick a random gift for us. So if we use that join block and put gift in the first half, if we click on it, it puts out gift 3, gift 4, gift 4, gift 3, gift 4, gift 1, gift 4, gift 2. So now it's making random costume names, and we're going to put that inside of the create clone block. And then we will put that inside the forever loop. But we don't want it creating ones willy-nilly. So let's put a weight block in there, and we want it to weight based on the difficulty. So we will have it weight difficulty seconds, and then we will have it repeat doing that, let's say like 4 times, and then it's going to change the difficulty. And so let's go to variables and change difficulty by -1. So the difficulty is actually going down because the amount of time that we're waiting between each present is going down. So if the viewer were to look at it, they would be like, why is the difficulty going down? We want it to get harder as we go on. But as the coding mastermind behind the game, you and me, we understand the difficulty goes down because the time goes down. We're running out of time. The time is getting shorter. That's why the difficulty goes down. So we're changing the difficulty by -1, but we don't want it to ever become a negative number. So let's add an if statement that says if the difficulty is more than 1, then it will decrease. So let's put 1 over there, then go back to variables and put difficulty. So if difficulty is more than 1, it will decrease the difficulty. If not, it will just skip the script entirely. So it's creating the clone, it's waiting, and it's just gonna do that until we strike out. Now there's one more thing that we have to do when we go into the gifts. So the clones, they have their own IDs, but we don't want them to get mixed up with each other. So let's say all of the clone IDs start at 0 and individually they're going up and up and up. We don't want them to end up overlapping. So we're actually going to set the second gift's clone ID, the second gift's clone count to 200. Now, there's not actually 200 gifts, but this just makes sure that there's no overlap in the clone ID of the selected gifts so that our computer doesn't get confused. So the next one, you can just set that to like 400, basically any number that is reasonably far away so that they won't get confused. And then the third one, we will set that to 600. Let's see, is there anything else that needs to change? I don't think so. Okay, so back to the backdrop. Let's go ahead and test this out. Okay, so the transparency is working. We have the gifts falling at a reasonable rate, I think, but this is actually coming really fast. So let's see what our difficulty variable is set on at this time, because that's coming really fast. I mean, not super fast, but our difficulty is at 5 right now. And why are they coming so fast if it's at 5? Just wait. Oh, I see. We had the wrong variable in here, or I had the wrong variable in here. I said the right thing, but I did the wrong thing. Make sure that the wait time is the difficulty second. So let's try that again. Okay. Yeah, that's going way slower now. Okay. All right. So our presents are now falling and the rest of the game is calling. So we have to finish it and code it. So let's see. How long have I been live? I've been live for 44 minutes, y'all. My voice is tired. Okay. So, this game. Oh Lord, I'm tired. Anyways, so now as you can see, I haven't been like actually actively playing the game. So all these presents are coming and they are falling, and I am not here to catch them. But we cannot tolerate such behavior. So we have to code in the strikes, and we have to make it so that there is game over if they are caught lacking and they are not wrapping the presents as they should. So our strikes sprite is empty, it is bare, it is bald, and we need to fix that. So we're going to stop this and we are going to create a message. So when start is clicked, or well, not when start is clicked, when backdrop switches to home, we don't want to see our strikes, so we'll hide that. But let's duplicate this. When backdrop switches to play, we want it to show, and then go to the front layer. And just to make sure that it never ends up behind that shoot, we'll just add a forever loop. So we'll just keep going to the front layer forever, or you could do times 1,000 if a forever loop like triggers your anxiety like it does for me sometimes. So I'm like, what if the game explodes? It won't, but just in case. It doesn't really matter. But we want to go to the front layer. We want it to show when it comes to play. Now, inside of the gift, we have it broadcast this message strike. So when I receive this strike message, when this receives a strike message, you can get that from the events. When it receives the strike message, we are going to have it change its costume to the next costume. So let's look at the costumes that we have here. It starts with 0 strikes, 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes. So let's make sure when the start is clicked, we have it switched to the first costume, which is 0 strikes. And then when it receives next strike, and then let's get an if statement so that we can check if by the time they get that next strike, if they're on strike 3, they're done, they're out, they are gone. So let's get an if statement, then operators equals variables, and then strikes. If strikes equals 3, then we're going to broadcast a new message called game over. Then there's a sound that should be in here. Yep, it's called lose. Then we'll have it play the sound lose. And it is going to switch the backdrop to home 2, which is our game over, backdrop. And under our backdrops, we need it to stop this script so basically stop producing clones when it receives that message. So go to events, and then when I receive game over, and then go to the very bottom of control and put stop all, but then change that to other scripts in the sprite. So just gonna stop this forever loop. And we also need to go under strikes and then put stop all. So stopping all is going to delete all of the clones, and yes, it should delete all of the clones, and everything should disappear. So let's try that. We're gonna press play, then we're just gonna wait, let the gifts fall, and let the strikes come. Well, that didn't work. One strike and we're out. That's definitely not how it is supposed to work. Let's see why that happened. Okay, let's look at our variable. Strikes is equal to 3 when it should not, in fact, be equal to 3. When it broadcasts strike, okay, let's make sure that at the beginning, the strikes variable is set to be equal to 0, and then we will change the strikes variable by 1 when it receives that message. Let's try that and see if that changes anything. So just let that go. It's falling. Okay, 1 strike, 2 strike. It's coming. It's working. And 3 strikes. We're out. it worked. Period. Okay, so let's go ahead and hide that variable. We can hide strikes, we can hide difficulty. It is working. It is working. Okay, let's go to the shoot and make sure that that hides when the game is over. Okay, events. When I receive game over, hide. And then if we go to start, click start again. How to play. Our how to play is working. We ate with that one. We go back. Go to play. The things are falling. Let's go in full screen because I'm pretty sure we might be done with this one. Guys, we might have finished. We might have finished. We might have finished. We might have finished. The score counting is working. Oh, I'm on my second strike. I only wrapped 2 gifts. I've actually become really good at this, guys. I've actually become addicted to my own game, which I consider a very big sign of success. If you actually find your own game very entertaining and you can't stop playing, that means you did a good job. Like, one of my favorite games is actually my own my own library game because I made it because I'm such a nerd and I was like, oh my gosh, what if I could like have my own, oh, it's not a library, it's a bookstore. The bookstore game that I put on my channel, I was like, I really want a bookstore game. So I made it. And then I was actually playing it for much longer than I should have. Okay, so it is working. Everything is working. It's yay. Okay, I think we might be done. I think we're done. So once you're finished with everything, you can go and see your project page and get ready to share it, put your notes and credits, the instructions, make sure that everybody understands how to play the game. And yeah, I think we did a really good job. I think we did. So, all right, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for sticking around with me to do this holiday coding tutorial. I hope you had a wonderful time. I hope you learned a little bit about clones, about debugging, because this was a journey. And I hope that you will stick around my channel to enjoy some more coding tutorials. I don't know if you all noticed, but I have my Lemonerdy holiday hoodie on today. And there is some more merch that is in the shop right now and coming to the shop. I have some really cool new stickers about Black girls coding. They are adorable. So please go to lemonerdy.com to see what is up in my shop and make sure that you like and subscribe so that you never miss another coding tutorial. I cannot wait to have you back here and coding with me. Have a wonderful winter break and I will see you soon. Bye.